Welcome in, everybody, to Season 3, Episode 6, Guns for Hire. This is going to be our Mandalorian review for this episode. This one is around 43 minutes in runtime and is directed by Bryce Howard. She does the voice of... Kurt, what's the name of the female Yoda? Your...
Female Yoda from the original, prequel?
Yeah, what's her name?
Yaddle?
Yaddle. She actually does the voice for that in the Tales of the Jedi,
Oh, really?
the Disney spinoff.
Okay.
Yeah, she actually does the voice of that, and she also did episode 11 as well,
Right.
where we were first introduced to Bo. So this is going to be our review of this one. Kurt, start us off. What were your thoughts on this episode?
Now, I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was. I don't think we needed a filler episode.
Yeah.
It's still kind of just leaving you thinking what's going on.
Yeah.
I would have hoped for a little bit more, storytelling on that back end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It felt like we could have did with like the first part and then the last 15 minutes and then filled it in with something else. With only having 2 episodes left after this one, you kind of wanted more substance.
Yeah.
I think we always talked about how they were really extending it and world building, which I think is great.
Yeah.
But at this point of the season, when we only have a couple episodes left, and who knows when we're going to get another season, it would have been nice to finally get to, the meat and potatoes of the season. But
Yeah.
this ended up being another one where which it wasn't bad for what it was. If this was like an episode 3 or 4, I
Yeah.
think we would have been on board for it. But just the fact that we're getting close to the end of the season here, I know we were both a little disappointed in that way.
No, definitely.
But definitely some cool scenes, graphics and everything like that were great as always. The world that we end up going to, the planet, looked cool as well.
Yeah.
But if you had to rate this one on your scale for the season, what would you rate this one out of 10?
I'd probably rate this a 5.
5. Okay.
It just, I don't know. It didn't feel, I don't know. It didn't feel like there was too much to it. You know what I mean? It just was kind of like storytelling.
Running around for 42 minutes.
Yeah, running around, chasing down old battle droids. Like, yeah, it's cool and all, and seeing all of the, the underground bars, but they kind of missed me with the droids, having their own, bars and stuff. I don't know. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You kind of got from the beginning.
It's cool to see the droids.
Yeah.
But
and like as soon as Christopher Lloyd's character popped up, you already knew, well, something's gonna go wrong here. And it didn't seem
tons
right.
of cameos.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, I'm right there with you. I would give this one a 5 as well on the grand scheme of things for this season. I think if this one was earlier in the season, maybe would have gave it like a 6 or a 7.
yeah.
But just being the third to last episode of what we're going to get for this season, and at the end of last episode where they left off, we're like, okay, here we go.
Yep.
Bo's going to go and reunite all the Mandalorian, and then you only get about 5 minutes of that at the end.
Right.
And you waited a whole week. You're kind of expecting more. So at this point in the season, for what it is, I gave it a 5, which is average. It's not 5's not a bad score by any means. 5's just an average episode, this was.
I would also like to say, that for sure, the CG and the design work of the planets and the ships, that stuff's great. I can't take anything away from that. I just think that it's just too much. Like there's too much nothingness going on. You know what I mean? Like we're finally seeing the night owl. That night owl branch that kind of broke off. That Bo had a fleet of Mandalorians.
Yeah.
So it's cool and all, but like we're not really seeing that backstory, especially with only a couple episodes left. Kind of it's starting to run dry, and it's not really. They're not really explaining anything. They're just kind of trying to have fun with it, which I get, but at the same time, I think it's it's nonsensical. There's nothing there.
Yeah. Like even if we had an episode with the Night Owls were on a mission, like if we would have saw a mission with them for half of this episode, I think that would have been cool. But it kind of seems like we keep doing these episodes with things that just aren't gonna, like we're not gonna see Jack Black and Lizzo again. Like that was a one-time thing. So we're wasting time on a one-time thing when we should be building the tension up for the series.
I agree, especially
So
like the acting is kind like it's kind of subpar. I mean, Christopher Lloyd's cameo was cool to see.
yeah,
He goes way back, but I mean, like I said, sometimes they just throw
he's
random
getting
people
old
in
too.
there. Exactly.
He's getting older.
They just throw
uh,
those random things in there, and it just kind of it doesn't. It's like who's getting a surprise cameo? Like they're just throwing it at anybody. You know what I mean?
well, that's not very Star Warsy to
Right.
throw in these,
I know.
the Jack Black thing. I could kind of understand because he acts obviously, and
Yeah.
they always have to make him like the same kind of character. I feel like they could have had him do
Yeah.
a different kind of role, but just throwing like 3 random cameos in a random episode just kind of feels like they kind of threw Lizzo in
Like she wanted it
try
and
to
liked it.
appeal to, yeah, either that or they're trying to appeal to like an untapped audience, which is what they
Maybe.
did with the latest 3 movies, which didn't work out well.
Right.
So just left a bad taste in the mouth for us, I know.
I agree.
Um, but this one will be a little bit quicker. We'll kind of go through and just break down the episode
Sure.
and just talk about it a little bit. But like we said, both give it 5 out of 10s, which is an average score. Not awful, not the best, but right on average for what the Mandalorian's been giving us. So we have the opening scene, which opens up with I think a Quarian ship, which the ship again looked awesome. That looked awesome. And they go into the shot of their ship, and she's like in this, the commander's in like this water tank,
Yeah, it's
which I thought
great.
was really cool.
Great. It's like kind of like that. It's cool to see. They did the forbidden love, right? Like, but
Yeah.
that ship is
Romeo and
cool.
Juliet.
He's having like
Yeah.
a fish martini, or she's having a fish martini, which was kind of cool to see. And
Yeah.
it obviously they're just doing their job, right? They're bounty hunting.
Yeah.
So it was cool to see that. And I don't know, I thought they portrayed the ship fairly well. It was cool to see their
It was
cruiser.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they, of course, when they pulled up, they thought they were Imperial because the ship that they had, a lot of people said that was Moff Gideon's ship.
Yeah.
So how did the Night Owls end up getting that ship?
Yeah.
We don't know. Was it because they ended up breaking them out, or was it just one of the ones that they ended up stealing or repossessing from somewhere? We're not really sure, but it would have been cool. I like that they showed what kind of missions they've been going on. Like they're just kind of doing bounty work just to be making money. This was like an easy rescue mission. It wasn't really like it was anything dangerous.
Yeah,
It just kind of seems like they're doing dumb work.
Initially seeing the Imperial, cruiser being Moff Gideon and all that. Now, if they did break him out, which it was Mandalorians that did it, is he on the ship? Is he?
Yeah.
Was he taken somewhere else? Was it another set of Mandalorians? But I'm guessing they went and took a bunch of Imperial stuff. You know what I mean? It looks like the planet they were on recently. There's like the guy, Jack Black's character plays he was an Imperial. I'm guessing he funded it, or he, was a big proponent to the equipment because he has a plethora of droids, and it looks like even in the background when you look at their guards, they're in stormtrooper gear, but they're kind of like mismatched.
That was cool.
Right? That was a kind of
actually like that.
But you could tell he has the New Republic, redemption badge, just like the other Imperials that had that. So are they tied in some fashion? Is Moff Gideon, you know what I mean? Like very Imperial like, and then having the ships and then the Mandalorians fight. It's kind of hard to say. Like that's why I don't understand this episode. Are they just trying to leave little Easter eggs for us to pick it up, or is there actually more? Is more to the Imperial faction that they're working with and they're not telling us?
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing the Night Owls did say, they did mention that they were not cheap, that they were expensive to hire. So if obviously Gideon would have as much money as you would need to give them, so it again allured to the possibility that maybe he hired them to break them out, which would then, who knows, like cause some tension in this, final 2 episodes coming up.
I think so, yeah. I think there's going to be probably something between them because, I mean, seeing them fight at the end, there's definitely something there.
Yeah. So that's the opening scene. We kind of get reintroduced to them again. And then we have the next shot of Din and Bo. They're coming into this like dome city, this planet. And this is where the Night Owls are because they were hired by Jack Black to kind of be the protectors. I
Right.
guess technically by law or whatever, they're not allowed to have their own like army. So they're pretty much just hiring them as muscle to hang out on the planet and just keep an eye out to make sure they don't get attacked because he could still have a target on his head.
Yeah.
And of course, instead of them being able to go right there, the tracking system ends up pulling their ship in, and they have to, of course, go to the dome city first and do that kind of stuff.
I'm guessing because that fleet, right? It has it has like the Mandalorian ships that are the same as Bo's, but it does in that they do show that Imperial cruiser. So I'm guessing they might have. That's definitely theirs. However they got their hands on it. I don't know if how they took it because Bo-Katan was there in that episode, right? When they took Moff Gideon.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing they probably just hijacked. It's theirs now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hijacked it there, or Moff gave it to him as like payment or helping him get out.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll end up finding out in the next 2 episodes. We'll have to see. But what'd you think of the 2 droids when they first they got tracked on, they got dragged in, and then you have like the dark R2D2 and I think it was an RA7, those 2 droids.
RA7.
They looked pretty sweet.
Yeah, so that astromech droid, they're all Imperial. That's right as they land, you see the black, you're like, whoop, Imperial. Like right then and there that whoever this is running the Imperial joint.
Yeah. And you didn't know who we were going to get brought into.
Right.
And then those doors opened and it looks like a circus in there. And who do we see? We see Jack Black and Lizzo.
Yep. Yep. And what's crazy too that I kind of have thought about with this was, they really let these people that were in the Empire like off scot-free, like let them back in, like to these groups of people, like that fun, like this planet that has all this crazy wealth. Who's to say they're not going to join again? You know what I mean?
It's because they were reformed. They went through the program.
Yeah, and I don't think that program really worked.
Yeah, which doesn't have worked because Jack Black, you don't know his intentions, but everybody that's seemingly going through that, they still seem to have the same allegiance.
And I do want to mention too, seeing both of their chain codes, they showed their chain codes, that was really cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Even that system that was set up with how you like fly through the world.
Yeah, like that hyperloop looking.
Yeah, that was neat. Yeah. It was cool to see a different kind of planet than what we've been used to, like Outer Rim planets. It was cool to see one that was a little bit more high tech. So I did enjoy that part of it. But we have. Go ahead.
So we came into the room where it was Jack Black and Lizzo. Definitely there was a plethora of aliens, that were in there, Thorians, Celestians. There was a cool group of aliens that they kind of showed, Rhodians. It was awesome to see that.
Yeah.
Even some of our familiar lizard friends from the previous seasons.
Yeah, there's a big table of them too. It just seemed like it was like kind of high society. They're all just kind of hanging out, eating, just having a good time,
drinking from weird pipes.
Yeah. But they pretty much end up cutting a deal with them. We have a scene where Lizzo's the daughter of the previous ruler of the planet,
right?
And then Jack Black came along, so they made a deal with them. They said some of their droids are going rogue. So on this planet, a lot of the droids do all of the work for all of like the human beings. So anything that they do, whether it's like carrying shopping bags, any kind of work those droids do. And a lot of them have been going off the rails now and been either hurting people or just not programmed correctly. So it kind of felt like a little iRobot moment as well throughout this episode.
Yeah,
but they pretty much hire them to get that taken care of, which is where we go down and we meet Chris Lloyd, head of security, and his name is Hellgate, which obviously if you hear the name Hellgate, you probably know that's probably going to be the villain.
Yeah, you know immediately. I mean, he kind of lead it on, but Christopher Lloyd's characters are always usually like wholesome, not, they're
Yeah.
not expecting it to be him. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they did a good
Yeah.
job with that.
Yeah, I think he did a good job as well. He didn't have too many parts, but he did well with the ones that he did.
Yeah.
He pretty much just explaining the same thing, showing the security footage of it, of what's going on. We kind of see a couple different droids in those shots
Yep.
as well. And then they pretty much send them down to get started to the lower levels where the drug knots are.
Yep.
And which have seen in previous seasons as well.
Oh
He
yeah,
was
the
actually
Ugnaughts are awesome.
very good friends with one.
Yeah.
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 What
And
was
then-
I don't know what the name of the episode in the first season was, but he spent a lot of time with them or with that kind of species as
Yeah.
well. So he was able to kind of connect with them more than Bo was.
Yeah, that his name was Quill, I think. Quill
Yes.
Quill was the name.
Yeah.
And that
I
was
think that was season 1.
and that was Nick Nolte who voiced him, right?
Yeah. Yep. So Bo, they both kind of go down there. Bo is like trying to reason with them, saying, "Hey, we think there's a malfunction with the droids down here." And Din ends up saying, "Alive, I have spoken," which is like one of their catchphrases, I guess. And that's when they all kind
Right.
of paid attention and took it more seriously. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a payoff for the relationship that Din has had in the past with those kinds too.
Very similarities. The one that he's speaking to, which is like their guy at their table that talks.
Yeah.
It looks very similar to Quill. Like he kind of has a very similar, I don't know, facial structure. I don't know if they did that on purpose or that was kind of a little Easter egg. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they were a cool species though, because you don't really see too many of them. So it's kind of like a mix of like a dog and I don't even know.
Yeah, Ugnaughts were always nasty looking, and they obviously made their appearance when they were in Cloud City. In the 1980s movies, 1970s, 1980s movies, they were, shown holding C-3PO, trying to pull his parts because they're droid guys.
Yeah.
Which is great.
So next up, they end up going. So they end up sitting down talking with them. They're like, "No, this is not. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing on our part. Like, there's something else going on with it." And they're sticking to that. They're like, "There's nothing we have changed. Their programming's just fine."
I have a question for you. Did he get a part for IG with them? Because this is an Imperial planet. I wonder if they're going to use this planet because they have all these droids.
That'd be nice.
If they're going to incorporate that to get IG-11 back and to get him reworked.
Well, if they don't, that would be a mistake because that's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
That would have made this trip kind of worth it if they threw like something in there that he did end up grabbing.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting to go back and see. Maybe he does end up grabbing something, or maybe he is thinking of that as well.
He does hand him those parts, but I'm wondering if somehow they're going to use that because it definitely seems like nobody's thinking about it. There's got to be something there because there's old CIS droids, Imperial droids left and right. So there's got to be some kind of, way they can kind of push that in there because nobody's really thinking, hey, IG-11, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think something's going to go on there.
Yeah, if they're going to have the parts anywhere, this is the place to have them.
All decommissioned Imperial stuff.
Yeah. So they end up going, they pretty much give them a location of where the next event could happen. I don't know if I kind of missed that. I don't know how they knew where to send them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what was said or if they're like, oh, this is where the next attack's going to be. I don't know how they knew that. I didn't pick up on it. I wasn't sure if you did or not.
Yeah, no, I didn't kind of like was confused by that and like he was kicking all of them. What is kicking?
Apparently, so didn't just hate them in general. So I think it was just a little tie-in to him hating droids.
It was timing.
I guess the kicking was to just try to get one of them off of their programming where they would react.
Right.
But I don't know how they knew to go down there to go do that.
Those suckers are fast too. I didn't think.
Oh man.
I always remembered in the prequels they weren't that quick. That thing could move.
Yeah, seriously, you can't. They would be very slow walking.
Yeah, that was a track star, man, and I don't know if that's true to Star Wars. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they move faster than that,
Yeah.
but that thing was a full like
Maybe when
football sprint.
maybe when they're possessed or taken over with whatever,
Yeah,
like whatever thing they were taken over with, maybe it makes them run faster.
yeah,
But
yeah,
this was the part that I thought felt very iRobot-y, was the
yeah.
chase down scene.
Definitely. Yep.
But we have a pretty much a chase down through the city, which the city looked great as always. The worlds look awesome.
Yeah.
You kind of they're going through these alleyways. Uh, the droids throwing things at them to try to slow them down.
The
They end up
underground
catching up
scooters.
to him.
Yep.
What's that?
Did you see the underground scooters? That was a little Easter egg. The white scooters.
Yeah, I didn't see it live, but I did see that afterwards.
Yeah. It was
Um,
it was pretty sweet watching him fly through that window, and then they did the old stick 'em up with Bo-Katan. She had her pistols out. That was
yeah,
dope.
yeah. And then you have the little police droids come out and surround them and make it
Yeah.
like a crime scene.
Caution tape.
And then that's where they end up finding the tracker or whatever you would want to call it on the back of that droid,
Yeah.
which conveniently has a location on it, which is this is the part where you go to the droid only bar.
Yeah.
So, which I know you were saying this was into reference on the previous 3 Star Wars too, right?
Yeah, the original Star Wars was kind of I'm gonna say it was a play on droids. Like droids are not allowed in the bar. They have devices
Yeah.
that leave your droids at the front. It's a droid detector,
Yeah.
and they're not. They don't allow them in there. So I thought that was. I mean, that's their way of being like droids. I guess are allowed in bars now, and they have their own bars, right?
Yeah. Maybe it's like their own bar because they don't want them to be in the bars with the normal bars, I guess.
Maybe.
But they gave them their own now, just so they have their own place to go. But like you were saying, it is kind of strange. They are trying to give them like feelings and
Sentient feelings,
stuff like that. Yeah.
free thought.
Yeah, so you have them in the bar. They're asking questions. Of course, Din doesn't like droids, so he's threatening it. It's kind of like a bad cop, good cop
He hates
thing.
them.
And he absolutely hates them. This scene was cool. I couldn't even begin to name all the different droids in there.
Yeah, there's a
But
lot.
it's ironic. We talked about in previous episodes how it's been cool to see all the different droids, and then in this episode, all you get is droids.
Yeah, they had like crazy colored astromech droids. They had even the protocol droid that was like that like neon green, or not neon green, but that like
The light-
chromatic.
they're the
green.
eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool one. I forget what the other one was. There's a couple in the background that were neat that were in earlier in this season as well.
Yeah.
But you pretty much they're talking to him, and the main barkeep is like, "Hey, this is definitely not us. This didn't come from us because this isn't something that we want to do. We
Yeah.
enjoy that we have a second chance, and we're not trying to mess that up. So
Yeah.
it's not droids that are messing with it, pretty
Right.
much."
And
then how did they go ahead?
the one of the droids had like an old style microphone as a mouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool to see that when they panned over to it.
Yeah. We'll have to you'll have to get that one in a short form.
I'll get you a little picture of it.
Yeah. But then they end up going PD mode pretty much. They end up going to the droid to investigate it to see why it might have acted how it did.
Yeah.
So you kind of get like I don't know, what would you want to call it? Kind of get like an investigator.
Yeah, they're
PI
definitely
feel,
doing
I guess, in this scene.
investigations into, why the droid's acting like that, so they can, label what's going on with it.
And then did they withdraw like oil from it? They took like a sample or something?
Yeah, I think they did sample something off of it, but I think they took that sample and she ran it through, I don't even know what it was. Like it started going crazy, right? Like as soon as she did that, the sentry droids inside were going crazy, right?
Yep. And they were pretty much at this point, this is where they're able to track it back to the one Hellgate, who was the one in charge of security in general. So they're able to link the programming that was put into the droids back to him.
It was like a virus, right?
Yeah, pretty much a virus that they would put in, at the bar. It would be in the drinks at the bar, which would then affect whichever droids had that kind of drink.
Right. Which is kind of wild
Um,
that they went that route with the virus. That's kind of interesting for droids. I mean, droids have their own. Was it in the
yeah,
oil? Was it in the oil?
I guess because that would make sense because if they were drinking the oil and then like at the bar and then they drew out the oil to run it through their scan or whatever they ran it through. I guess it was going through the oil and was somehow was able to reprogram them altogether.
Yeah.
But we end up we have that scene and they go back to Hellgate and pretty much call him out. And then he says, "Don't make me press this button." And Bo shoots him, or at least shocks him.
Stuns
So,
them. Yeah.
yeah, they're able to get him in custody. I know he ended up talking about a little bit how he was a separatist and he was like a fan of Dooku. So he's never changed since that.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like our first iteration of having some separatists in these episodes as well for
Yeah, it was cool.
Mandalorian.
Seeing CIS sympathizers.
Yeah, yeah. Especially another older guy too. It's kind of funny.
Yep. Yep.
It's kind of like the old guy that still believes in the old way. That's
Yep.
what they're trying to like portray.
Yep.
So then we finally go back to this very Alice in Wonderland type rich area. They go back and deliver them. They're still up there just drinking, playing games, having a good time. Jack Black and Lizzo. And we have baby Grogu up there as well. She was
Totally.
kind of watching him the whole time.
Totally cheating.
Yeah, I know. That was funny. It did look like a fun game, but definitely was cheating. I didn't like she kind of treated Grogu like a pet this
Yeah.
whole episode.
Yeah.
Which was kind of weird. She was like petting his head and stuff.
Yeah.
And at this point, you kind of, and this is nitpicking, but you kind of wish that you'd be getting to the point where he's like becoming his own like tough warrior,
Right.
But you still have these scenes where they're trying to over cutify him, I feel like.
Right.
But so we have that. So now we finally, after 35 minutes of the episode, we finally have that pointless part out of the way. And now they're allowed to go and visit the other night owls, allowed to have a meeting with them. So we have Bo go over and kind of say her piece. What was your thoughts on this ending of the episode?
I thought it was I mean, it's at this point, so they're correlating it to kind of like when Sabine Wren gave Bo Katan the Darksaber, right? They're doing the same thing with Din Djarin, right? So that he can run them, and it's interesting to see like the Manda like scoff at him, like, oh, he's giving it a Darksaber, and I thought the fight scene was cool. I mean, she absolutely whooped his butt. And that was cool to see them fighting.
We got to see their weapons in action again.
Yeah, and it was great. And there was, you can obviously see that they do cherish that lightsaber, which is kind of funny. Like, whoever wields it gets to control them, right? Like, it's like, are you guys religious? Like, just like where they don't take their helmets off. I do like seeing those different types of Mandalorians. I bet there's probably other tribes of them that are going to be cool to see. But I thought the ending was okay. Like, are they going to be united? Are they going to fight together? Or are they going to somehow... There's got to be some kind of conflict, I'm guessing, with them.
Yeah. Because
they seem like they're so far away from, like the honor that Din Djarin and his guys have. They kind of seem like they're just like rogues. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. What were your... and I kind of... Well, a little side point first. I kind of think that they won't like each other at first, but they'll probably come together to fight Moff Gideon and whatever forces he's with, which will then bond them, which will then make them stronger and make them one. But what were your thoughts on like the technicalities of them being able to, like, him giving the Darksaber like that? Because I know she didn't win it in battle. It's kind of like a loophole that they ended up.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of already with the loopholes because of the armorer saying, "Hey, take your helmet off." You walk both sides.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
we're starting to bend the rules a bit.
we're bending the rules a bit, especially Bo's beliefs of I have to win this in battle, and Din is like, well, I don't really want this thing because I can't even like
Yeah.
swing it around. So
Yeah.
here you go, like here, unite your people. I mean, I guess it's good that both sides are together. Like you have leaders of both sides
Yeah.
that are trying to unite them all for probably a bigger cause. Definitely probably Imperial related. So
Yeah.
if it's for the better cause, I'm guessing that's why they're going that route. Um, maybe it'll come full circle. Who knows? Maybe Din will
Yeah.
get the saber again. Maybe it will stay in Bo's hands. It will be cool though to see them, work together here. Hopefully she can just lead them, and then he
Yeah.
can kind of absorb them too with his Mandalorians.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting as I like the beginning and like the end, like I've said before, but as we're getting down to the final 2 episodes, I'm starting to think like I wonder, and we still have so like the unanswered things that we need in the last 2 episodes here. We have the Pershing doctor, what's
Right.
happened to him? We have Ellie Kane still.
Yep.
What is her role? Like she has to have a bigger part. It would be a little bit sad if like she still doesn't have a part. Where's
Yeah.
Gideon? And we still have the Mythosaur
Right.
to go back to as well. So we kind of have like 4 different things that have to close out here.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested to see maybe these last 2 episodes will just be absolute killer episodes and
Right.
they'll be like an hour apiece and we'll be able to get a lot resolved. But I'm already starting to think of to future seasons. I wonder if this season was mainly just Bo completing her quest to getting Mandalore back together.
Right.
And then once that happens, now we could have Din go out on his own again. But I wonder if like that's gonna be because he's gonna have to go get Grogu back or like,
Right.
is someone gonna take Grogu? I wonder what future seasons are gonna be about once this wraps up as well.
Yeah. Like, is he gonna bring them back to Navarro? Is there going to be,
Yeah, I don't know.
you know what I mean? Because they're protecting this planet because they're paid a lot. I'm wondering if like they're gonna be like, hey, come to Navarro. You have to follow her regardless because she is, carrying the Darksaber. So I would assume they're probably gonna go to Navarro, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how they're gonna finish out these 2 episodes. Like they kind of need a Hail Mary here because it's just filler.
They
And
got a lot to do.
I wonder if this season is just a filler season. You know what I mean? Kind of leading and
Yeah.
opening up story points through like all the seasons that John Favreau wants to do.
Yeah.
So,
And we don't even know, like at this point, we don't even know what kind of ending is gonna fulfill us.
right.
Like, there's nothing I can think of at this time with only 2 episodes left that's like, well, if this happened by the last episode, I'll be happy with the season. Like
Right.
I don't even know what I want to happen because I still don't fully know what we're getting at.
Yeah, like who's the bad guy? We're just rounding up Mandalorians at this
Yeah.
point. And
Which was fine for 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Completely fine with. We're getting to a point.
I think that's what it is. Like they're just trying to get them together since they've been shattered and like splintered
Yeah.
around the galaxy. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be because I mean, we took out the pirate's gone. Unless that was their big bad of the season was the pirate.
That couldn't be. No way.
But if that is it,
That
maybe
would be sad.
I bet you any money that was probably the big bad, and they'll probably tease Gideon or somebody at the end on the last episode.
Yeah. Are you really going to drag them out for another season? I guess at this point, I guess they're going to have to.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to get the Thrawn at some point. I was hoping Gideon would be.
Yeah.
I was hoping by this point Gideon would be taken care of, and then the last 2 episodes would kind of be like leading up to the big bad of Thrawn. But
Yeah. Because
yeah, I don't know.
I don't see like the way that this season's going. It doesn't seem like there's a climax. Like it's like up and down and up and down, and then like the main
Yeah.
villain was on Navarro, and now they're doing a filler episode, and then maybe next episode it'll be something completely different, which it probably
Gotta
will
be.
be. But
It has to be at this point.
Yeah, just do it at this point. Like just make it a
Yeah.
filler season.
Yep. Yep. So that pretty much wraps up this episode. Lots of unknowns. Not sure what to expect the last 2 episodes. I'm gonna guess that they're gonna be really good episodes.
Yeah.
But I have just no clue of what it could be. I'm hoping Din rides the Mythosaur at this point.
Yeah.
Since Bo has the saber now, the Darksaber, I'm kind of hoping she's like, hey, for you giving me this is actually something
Right.
that you could do to help out. But it doesn't seem like Din really wants that kind of role.
No,
It's
it
kind of just like a nomad.
It truly seems like a dyad almost at this point, where like they're both leaders,
Yeah.
but they're both leaders of two different tribes that they're going to unite, Mandalorians back together.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're going to do
Maybe
something
that's
like
the
that.
point of the season. Maybe
Maybe.
that's just it. They get Mandalore back, and
Yeah.
now they're ruling on there, and then you could roll into a season 4. But I wish they would have made that known that that was the point of the season
Right.
a little bit earlier on.
Agree.
But I think that's going to do it. That's going to wrap up episode 6 for us. We have 2 more episodes for you guys coming up, so we'll have your reviews for that over the next 2 weeks, and we'll see how they wrap this up. As always, though, if you made it to this point, we really appreciate it. And like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for stopping by, guys. Hit that like button.
Yes, please.
Peace.